Well, what are we fixing today? Well, today I have a tool for you. If you use Tasmota and have a bunch of Tasmota devices that you have various programming going on with, there's a tool made by some of the people who brought you Tasmota itself. The tool is called TDM or TDMgr, and what it does is it gives you a array of things that you can do that are background Tasmota things: rules, power setup, Wi-Fi, OTA backup, all kinds of stuff. I use it all the time. That being said, the authors of TDM manage this software in Ubuntu in a raw form and or in a Windows form. So those are the supported by TDM options of installation. You may not want to do that. In my case, I'm going to bring you two other options of installation. Now, if something fails in TDM, in order to get support from the TDM people, you're probably going to have to try to load it native and see if the problem still exists, because that's the format in which they will help you troubleshoot. That's the supported version. The installations I have here are more convenient to some and possibly better, but if you have issues with these, you should come to me. We should verify that if it's a TDM problem or a Docker or add-on problem, and we can then manage it from there. I don't want to give the TDM people any support issues because I am releasing this software. Okay, the Docker part of it is mine and the add-on part of it is somebody else's, but the base software is still the base software. So if you have issues, not sure what's going on, feel free to contact me. My information is in the bottom of the text and in the description. So with that being said, let's start. So here's TDMDock. What I've done here is created a Docker container based on the work of some other people, and they're listed in here as to what I'm basing this on and where this all comes from. I'm certainly not a Docker expert, but Docker is easy enough that I was able to hack this together. This is my repository for my Docker stuff. There'll be a link. There's a link to that down in the stuff. We're going to go to the one called TDMDock. What this does is takes this software, TDM, from this guy, and loads it into a Docker container. What you're going to need is Docker CE and Docker Compose loaded. If you already have Docker loaded on your system, you don't have to worry about this. If you want to load Docker, I'm going to give you a short montage here of me doing it. Took me about 5 minutes on this system. So let's go look at that. Now the first part of that montage, you notice that the first thing it did was delete Docker CE and all its components. If you already have Docker running, don't delete that, and you don't even have to reinstall it. It's fine. If Docker is running, that's all this beginning part is. So if you have Docker running, don't sweat the install. Once it's installed, we need to do some stuff. So let's install it. The first thing we need to do is go to a folder, and I chose opt because it's a place where optional stuff goes. I thought it was an excellent place for this. And I'm following the instructions right in TDMDock. Then we need to make a folder, put in your root password. You need to have root access to do this. You need to change the permissions on this folder. I'll change ownership. This will change the group. Now we have a folder called TDMDock. Next thing we need to do But we're going to create a group called Docker. In case it already existed, so we're good. Now I'm going to connect my user, my local user, to the group Docker. So now I'll be able to run Docker commands or Docker compose commands without having to be root. You want to do that, it makes it easier. Probably a little less secure, but if it's on your own local system, it should be fine. Now we're going to install the Git repository, git clone command, pulling from this folder, and this is listed in the repository. That is this right here. So just copy this and paste it in there. Paste it in there and go. And all our files are there. Docker compose, the Docker file, all this stuff. So that's good. If this hasn't worked for you, you need to install Git. Just look up on Google on how to install Git if you haven't got that. It's also not something I'm going to cover in here. Once that's in there, we need to find Docker file, this one, and we need to edit it. I use nano. Oh, there. You need to change this to match your time zone and put in the one that you need to have there. Now we're inside of this folder, TDMDock. What we're going to do is run the Docker compose. Docker compose, once you have this Docker compose file and Docker file, it's pretty easy. You just need to call Docker compose and build. Nice, right? And permission to now. Well, I don't have permission, so I guess we have to sudo that. Let's go. Okay, seen a lot of red go by as warnings. We'll see if it worked or not. Let's start up the container and see what it does. There, the container's starting. And now it'll just kind of sit there. So for startup, I have my system running Ubuntu, and I have some startup scripts for that. Those are located inside this folder. It's this file and this file. So we're going to copy these folders onto our desktop. This will give us a convenient way to start and stop the container. So now these two files exist on my desktop. If you use my desktop icons, you'll have a little box on your screen that looks like this. You can hide it or whatever, but it's kind of a reminder that, oh yeah, TDM's running. I should probably shut it down. When you click the one that says TDMgr stop, it'll pop up another box, stop the container, and then both of these will disappear. So I left it that way as kind of a reminder. You don't really want it running all the time. Works for me. Hope it works for you. If not, you're free to do whatever you like. To here, once the container is running, we need to open up the thing. So here it's opened up, TDM. TDM is in here and it is running. Now you have a TDM manager running. You need to follow the docs in TDMgr and set this up for your system. You go into MQTT, into broker, and you fill out the information. After that, push connect. And it should start loading. Connected right here. Now the loading process, in my case, I have 35 devices or so. It takes about 5-10 minutes. Let the thing sit here and load. We're just going to sit back and watch it go. Okay, appears that I have updated, and it took about a little less than 5 minutes. So, and that's for, I think, 32 or so Tasmota devices scattered around my little domain. Now, fine, great. This gives you some information. I'm not going to go into all these tabs because some of them will give away stuff that I don't want you to see. But you can, I think, firmware is okay. If not, I'll edit it out. There's firmware, yep. You can see what the URL is if you're going to just push the update. And you can see what version they're all on. I'm on 9.3. I understand as of this video, 9.4 is available, so I have some updating to do. I'm going to go back to home, and you can explore the rest of these as you want. It gives you a lot of information about what's going on all your devices. You can pick one. Let's say the one I've been working on recently, which is the nebulizer. If you look in my videos, I've updated the web page for this and made some new configuration changes, so it's working actually better now, but that's another day. But once we get here, let's look at the rules. See how nice the rules are formatted here? And you can edit these and then push them back up and save them. If you have a big long rule that requires compression, that is the update request. It has not been updated yet in TDM, but short rules that are 255 or so, rule buffers that are 255, you'll see all the information in here, and you can change what you want. For instance, that's rule 2, or here's rule 2 in this one, and here's rule 3 buffer. So you can get out the rules. I just love it for this because this is a whole lot easier than editing that long string, if you know what I mean. All right, so I can get rid of that window. I can right click this. I can bring up the web UI. Boop. This is a web UI for that machine. And this is actually on, Firefox talking to the box. So that's pretty cool, right? Get rid of that. Back over here. Oh, did I get rid of the wrong one? No, there we go. What else could you do? You can configure timers. I have no timer set on this, but you have full control timers in a GUI kind of way, which is very nice. You have button status, button controls, set options. I don't know if they're not all here. Some of them are here, the ones pertaining to buttons. You can go into, let's close that. Let's go into switches. Same kind of thing for switches, and the set options for switches. Very nice, right? Tells you where you're at and then you can set it to where you want to be. Go into power. You can see all the power states, the retains. What other things can we do? Let's look. You can kind of see here. Oh, here's another one. If you're on something and you can just double click it, it'll bring up the console on here. Anything that shows up in the console device shows up here. Pretty cool, right? This tool keeps me sane when I'm working with 30 some Tasmota devices, let me tell you. Let's look at an add-on container. Here is my Home Assistant instance. We're going to now load TDM in a Docker add-on for supervised mode Home Assistant. We're going to go to Supervisor. Here is Supervisor. Now, if you look down in the text for below in the description and in my website, I have a link to Matheson's add-on repository. And if you go to the add-on store, click on, it's just off the screen, really. Right up here, just off the screen. You click on the shish kebab menu and you say repositories, and then that string, that URL that I have in the video description, you put that in here. Once you do, you will see Matheson's HA add-ons. So once that exists, come in here and you scroll down alphabetically, and here you'll see the 3 add-ons that Mr. Matheson has come up with. We're going to want to load TDM Manager. So let's go there. Once you're in there, click install and uninstall. It'll spin them for a minute. After a minute or two, it'll pop up like this. I click all these buttons. Obviously, the auto update is optional and the sidebar is optional. So start and then log, and you can see what's happening. And every minute or two you refresh, make sure the stuff is all looking green in here. That's probably as far as it needs to go. The container should now be running. Back to info. So now the container should be running. You can either click the thing on the sidebar or click Open Web UI right here. We're just going to open Web UI. And there it is. Now, as you can see, it's going to take the same 5 minutes or so to install all its thing. Let's watch that. Well, there they all are, and it took about the same amount of time. One thing about the add-on is currently you have to scroll to the right to see more stuff. There's a lot of scrolling going on because there isn't an auto thing in the window, doesn't auto scale the window. So I think the author's seeing if we can look at that. I think there was a feature request in for that. Buttons and everything all work the same, and you have all the same functions. Now, if you notice when I started this up, it started right away. I didn't have to change my MQTT stuff, and that's because I had run this on this instance already. I had deleted it so that I could show you how to install it, but it'll be the same as the other one was. You'll have to come in here and put in your broker information, your password, before it'll grab data, so you have to have that. Well, that's my video for today. I really like TDM Manager. I've had problems in and out running it native. Didn't like the way it was running native. You could certainly run it native, and if you have Windows, I would recommend running it native, but you know, this is 2 other ways you could load it, and they both work and they're both great. Just remember, TD Manager will probably only be running while you're in there actively doing stuff. Don't start a container and let it run forever. Don't start the add-on and just let it auto start. That's, I mean, it might be fine, but there's no reason to give your ESP chips all that extra work to do because they're a little fragile anyway. So, thanks for watching. If it's helped you, please subscribe. Please click the like button. It's all great. If you want to support me, I have a bunch of ways to support me down in the description or on the webpage. I'd love support. And for today, that's my video. Thanks for watching. Bye.